dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great pleasure to be together in this afternoon and sharing together fantastic ideas. And as you may know, we are here for Neurochallenges. And this is a very important part of the vision of Neurotech project. And I strongly believe that we'll have a great opportunity to interact and we'll have a very fruitful discussion. The general scope of this meeting is this, and the added value relies very much on the capacity to exchange ideas and to express our concerns, to express our ideas of how can we do better things in this respect. My name is David Mureșanu. I'm a professor of neurology at the University of Medicine and Pharmacy Iuliu Hațeganu, Cluj-Napoca, Romania. And I'm also the president of European Federation of Neurorehabilitation Societies. So I have to deal a lot with the environment and people. And sometimes we need to adapt environment to create a better life for our patients. I have the great pleasure to co-chair this session with an eminent specialist, which is also an adjunct professor in our department and an eminent expert in the field of public health and health policies, who is also an important leader of the project itself, of the NeurotechEU, Ștefan Strilciuc. So Ștefan, you may continue a little bit.
Thank you, Professor. Grateful for your kind words. My role in Neurotech is mainly in work package 7, in widening access, where I lead the work package, but I'm very interested in healthcare economics. I'm very interested in social determinants of health, but I guess I'm here to learn more from neuroscientists and experts in technology and engineers in computer science experts to see how we may achieve our objectives as economists and as society as a whole through the innovative tools that you're bridging. And I think better understanding the brain will lead to better policies and better health outcomes and improved quality of life for us, society as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ștefan. I hope together we'll be able to entertain and to squeeze out the best out of this meeting. And I will initiate this discussion with a very short presentation. I will try to share with you my screen. Today, we have the chance to talk about challenges, and not any challenge, but neuro-challenges, and particularly related and focusing on field of economy and ecology. It's very interesting and demanding topic because at the end of the day, the project itself, the Neurotech, is very much focused on these aspects, particularly on how can we get to a friendly way of living, a friendly economy, that will be compatible with the environment on one hand and with the society on the other hand. Because we have these two very important components, environment and society, which generates our, I would say, ecology of the planet, and economy, it's a very important part of the picture. Actually, you know, ecology and economy apparently along the way have been somehow in conflict due to the fact that ecology was fighting to preserve limited resources of the environment, and on the other side, economy was fighting for economic growth, for profitability growth, and things like that. And of course, this brought us in some troubles. And that's why there is a perception that these two concepts are somehow mutually exclusive. Our target is to find ways to alleviate these conflicts, to alleviate these contradictions, and to create a friendly cooperation between ecology and economy. And this is possible only by new concepts, by introducing new concepts, and by the power of neurotechnologies at the end of the day. In order to do that, we have to contemplate again the concept of Neurochallenge, which is a society, at the end of the day, is a societal challenge that can be met by neuroscientific and neurotechnological knowledge and solutions. And this should be applicable now, and particularly should be applicable in the future. Basically, the goal of our interaction today, our meeting, our discussion, is to identify, discuss, and eventually debate these neurochallenges facing, of course, the whole picture, and taking in consideration the needs of the individuals, population, cities, economies, and the whole society, in conjunction with economy and ecology. What we know today is that we have a lot of components. Many concepts are flying around, and sustainable development, green economy, whatever, policy making, ecotourism, whatever you see in this slide. But at the end of the day, what is very important is to find a better solution to create a friendly economy that goes hand in hand with our ecological concepts. So for this reason, we do believe that we need to integrate the whole education research process, namely our endeavor to find new technologies, all industrial activities and market development into a single concept. We have to go round, and at the end of the day, what we need for this integration to create a permanent link. What we'll do in education should be reflected in research. What we are doing in research should be reflected into the industry production, and of course, the markets will absorb this product. But what we need is a slightly change in human behavior. Currently, we live in a rather aggressive and greedy society, and we need also to alleviate this part. Maybe we need a more empathic, a more mindful, and I would say a more humble society with less aggressive approach and less greediness. And having this in mind, we may here identify some economic and social challenges we are already facing today. And I can predict, and we know that we are going to face more and more challenges in the future. Just having this list is just to give a brief orientation for your interaction. We are living in a growing income inequality. We are facing global climate crisis, uncertainties regarding global economy. We have the migrations aspects, migration challenges. Our social media brought us into the post-truth world. Today, it's very difficult to discriminate between, stories and the real truth. And one of the most important challenge and possible threat is to end peaceful living. The possible end of peaceful international collaboration is a tremendous threat. And so on and so forth. We can have a look into the digital challenges and technologies which are driving completely the changes of our society. I'm very sure that you are familiar with the green growth circular concept of the economy, starting from raw material production, consumption, and dealing with the waste prevention and managing all aspects related to that. And we know that we have to deal better with resources and with eco-innovation. But if you look at this circle, will be very clear that without a human behavioral change, we'll not be able to definitely run the future conflicts, to mitigate the conflicts between economy and our ecosystem in a, I would say, in a performant way. What we should do is to be mindful, to be aware about challenges, and to understand these neurotechnologies better and to use them wisely, not to disturb more than we have already did it today. If we look into the economical development, global economic complexity, we'll see that very strong, classic, and powerful players will not be able to keep their position in the ranking because, you know, we need today more agility, more flexibility. We need a lot of, I would say, innovation in order to have real sustainable economical growth. If we have a look at the tendency, at the trends today, we may see that we have candidates for candidates as defined as biggest fallers, but we have candidates for biggest risers. So this is a continuum in this development. We may see countries like China, Vietnam, Myanmar, with high flexibility in their economy and with the capacity to act quickly and to adapt. We also see, classic old players with strong economies not being able to perform as expected. And this is a trend also in the future. We have to be aware about all these aspects. Now, I would like to stimulate somehow your imagination with these hints. You have to be creative, to discuss, and to focus on decision-making aspects under, that we have today. And please concentrate on these hints that we have given to you. And I would like, in connection with human behavior, I would like just to mention that the chances to balance between limited resources and time versus virtual unlimited human desires, yes, the chance is to use wisely these new technologies and slightly interfere and change economy, secure ecology, and change human behavior, as I mentioned at the beginning. Of course, you are free to comment and to interact. You know the instruction. You already did it in the previous session, maybe. And we just want to stay with you longer and just to remind you that we reconvene with all participants at 15:45 for a very interesting roundtable discussions, trying to put together conclusions of all these 8 panels. You may be inspired again by the, these directions. What are the biggest E&E neuro challenges now? We definitely have a goal by 2040 in these respects, as as a think tank of the whole project. And there are many aspects in which you are very interested, like education, research, innovations, and so on and so forth. And I believe that this is important. So let's start together this nice journey and try to squeeze out of our interaction the best. the best out of it. So I will just stop sharing the screen. And Stefan, now it's time that you will also add some important aspects before the real start of the discussion.
Sorry, I wanted to avoid the echo. Thank you for your beautiful presentation. I think this sets the stage brilliantly for where we want to go. I think we already have a question from a doctor from Romania, from our department. But I just want to say that this is all about you as members of our community, and I see colleagues from Turkey who are our friends and technical experts in the consortium. And for us, for me personally, as not being a clinician, but as more of an economist and a population specialist, and also Professor Mureșanu as a eminent neurologist and the neuroscientist, we are really interested, wanting to know what are the innovations, technological innovations and research innovations you are aware of that might help us move forward to the agenda of economy and ecology. And again, I think it's worth mentioning that we should set priorities as well, not only identify aims and needs. Professor Mureșanu, do you want to take the
yes, question? I will initiate, and then we may switch the roles along the way. I do believe that what Stefan mentioned, it's extremely important. So you have to focus your attention and your interests defining, identifying aspects and facts that can prevent and alleviate this enormous conflict between economy and ecology. And we have to contemplate also aspects related to human behavior. And of course, we'll come across important aspects. As I may see now, we have a very interesting question and comment from our colleague, Dr. Adina Stan, in relation with challenging aspects related to stroke treatment. Particularly, there are challenging because we are living in a little bit challenging environment, because today we are talking about challenges. So we may give the floor to Adina.
Okay, so I've invited our colleague on the screen. She should pop up in a couple of seconds. Yes. In the interim, as the others have done, you may ask questions either in the Ask a Question toolbox or the Say Something Nice chat box.
Yeah.
It appears Dr. Stan has accepted our invitation and is now connecting.
Welcome, Adina.
Oh, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to see you. So,
can you hear me?
Of course.
Okay. Thank you so much for this interesting topic. I'm a senior neurologist from Romania, and I have this special interest in stroke field. And I have let's say, a tough question for you, because in our country, not all the patients have access to specific treatment for stroke, like thrombolysis, thrombectomy, or not even to specialized rehabilitation centers. Do you think that this program will help us to increase stroke awareness in our country? Do you think that we can improve not only the quality of research, but also the quality of treatment in our country, and especially the access of treatment? And what will be the cost, the social impact of this program in real life?
Yeah, absolutely meaningful question and comment. Taking in consideration aspects related to public health and cost-wise, I will invite Stefan to comment a little bit, and then I will add clinical related aspects and not only. And of course, the discussion is open for everybody. If anyone would like to add something, that would be a good opportunity.
Yes, feel free to join our discussion at any time. Just let us know. I think, and thank you, Dr. Stan, for your question. I think this is extremely relevant for economy. Why? Because our failures with economy and the inequalities that have been produced have major impact on population level, especially in high burden diseases. So stroke is a very, very high, as most people know, burden of disease, not only clinically, morbidity, mortality, but also societally through what we miss out of in terms of, for example, indirectly missed productivity or years of life lost. So I guess this is very much related to how we may help countries with lower resources bridge this gap, because we already have the standard of care in this. I'm fairly sure it's the stroke unit. So to implement in these countries is not only a matter of, let's say, having access to information and innovation, but pushing forward with the behavior change for policymakers to go on with this. If we look at the numbers, of course, if we would introduce in all these countries stroke units, let's say, we would in the long term save an infinite amount of money. The problem is that our authorities are not sufficiently educated, and we have a lot of barriers in understanding these issues. And this is why neuroeconomy and economists put much faith in neuroscience to help understand these behaviors. How are we taking decisions? How are we taking into account loss aversion? Why are we taking irrational choices in some cases? And how do we prioritize between interventions? So I have much faith in this project, and I hope colleagues from all departments of neuroscience, colleagues from the Donders Institute, colleagues from Boğaziçi University in Turkey will help us find innovative ways to convince policymakers to make the right choice.
Yes.
When do we expect, let's say, the results? Do you think that in the next 4 years we'll be able to start something or to do something?
So yeah, I can give you some hints here. So what we have to do today is to deal, as we mentioned, with the scarcity. Our resources, related to the health expenditures, will not be much higher. So what we have to do, again, is to change our behavior in the sense that with the same resources, we can do much more in the future. What we really need to do is to use wisely these resources, because, this is the interplay between economy and healthcare. Yes, with the same amount, we can do much better. We need just to organize better our system and to settle needs and priorities in a better way. I think finding these needs and priorities and creating a good ranking in the future will be the contribution of our project, Neurotech. Actually, what we have decided is to create special panels of interest within the frame of collaboration of different governmental institutions under the guidance and under the principles of Neurotech. So having these clusters of multidisciplinary clusters in which clinicians, together with policymakers, with public health specialists, with the regulatory experts, will interact. And the strategy is just to change the geometry of what we are doing. And we definitely may develop things in the near future. Thank you very much, Adina. If you are pleased with the
Thank you.
With this vision of neurotech involvement, it will be fine. If not, we are here to explain more.
We also have a question from Daniela Scholz, sort of zooming out to this. What would be the method to change the behavior of society in Europe, in our view? I think we can invite Daniela to the stage. Maybe it would be useful for each of you to just mention your background, your interest, and illustrate the question. Let's see if she accepts. She's accepting and connecting.
So I think also when you ask a question, you should present your vision regarding what you have asked. What is your opinion on that? What is your I would say suggestion on doing this? So
well,
you're welcome.
Okay, firstly, I'm from Boğaziçi University and originally a psychologist, but also behavioral neuroscientist. And I'm just simply very concerned about where society is going.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can hear you very well.
Okay, so I've been thinking about those questions a lot, just, looking at us. And so that's why I asked the question to you, what's the best way to change our behavior? At an individual level, that's hard enough. But now to think about society or even Europe, that's a huge dimension. So I'm wondering how you would approach this, or ask others the question.
Okay. So thank you very much, Daniela, for this extremely interesting and very difficult question. So if you look into the philosophy of NeurotechEU, and if you look carefully into the whole process, philosophy and process, you will see that the project itself, it's designed to create a better, I would say, perception and a better behavior of the people. If we'll be able that everything starts with education at the end of the day. Yeah? Education is a very important moment. But, we used to perceive different phenomena and processes in a separate way. For example, education, research was going on in industry, markets, as separated processes. And as long as we will not be able to create a connection between these modules of the human reality, we will not be able to change human behavior, because we'll continue to behave in an irrational way, irrationally. So that is so the sense of neurotech per se is to create simultaneous interaction and to put in the same time into a different picture what's going on in education, and this should be related with what's going on research, and what's going on today in research will be applicable to industry, and then the market should be developed in this way, and also our way of understanding life. And if we'll create a group, an active group of people, universities, companies, and I would say market developers, we'll have a cluster of stakeholders that will create an island of changes. And once having this island of changes, we can then disseminate it nicely by example. I think this is the implicit way and the implicit power of our fantastic project, because this is a unique project in this. I hope that somehow I would like to create a connection between the core value of our project and your extremely important question. Human beings.
May I ask something related? You mentioned policymakers, so we have to change their points of view. But is it really the people that drive policymakers, at least in democratic countries? Where would you start? Would you change people by appealing to policymakers, or would you rather change people first and let them drive the policymakers? Or is it both?
Yes, I think it will be a complex approach, a bottom-up and top-down in the same time. But I will invite also my co-chair, to add on that?
I think your question was particularly interesting given the, as you said, complexity of change in behavior at individual level. So as we know, things are changing. We have a lot of studies that couldn't be replicated. Even if we look at behavior towards health, the old paradigms of social cognitive theory, theory of planned behavior, health belief model, stuff like that is being contested now because new evidence is emerging that people are just much more complex. Decision-making internally is much more stochastic, if you will. So we have to focus on the proximal triggers of behavior change. In my own opinion, and again, I might be biased because I'm working with this, I'm a fan of having platforms and pilot projects. As Dr. Stan mentioned, stroke for, let's say, a case study of systemic health system inefficacy. We could look at healthcare economics as a platform for solving deeper economic issues such as inequality, because this is closer to people's hearts. If we look at inequality spills into the problem of health through the social determinants of health described by Michael Marmot. So I think it's the same for ecology. If we look at the health impact of pollution, this might be a sufficient platform now in this context to generate this distraction, this lobby effort, but while at the same time, as Professor Mureșanu mentioned, fundamenting it with deep understanding of how the brain works and trying to pull what is good from the endogenous workings of the brain and try to apply it when connecting several brains. So this is just my input on this, but maybe we have colleagues in the audience who would like to contribute, or yourself as well. Thank you.
So I think it will be very interesting to find your opinion, Daniela, on what is, on your opinion, the best way to change something in this respect.
Well, I think, starting from an individual level, I think insight and understanding usually comes first. A lot of people might be good people and have good ideas, but also first they don't know how to do things better, and second, maybe not be aware of the impact of their behavior on the environment, on other people. And, I mean, it is such a complex situation. Just think about social media, but let's assume social media doesn't exist or could be used in a way to shape us in the ways that we want. I mean, perhaps that's the trick, is to use it in the way that we would like people to change and employ it as a tool. I'm thinking about, for example, a great tool my nephew, very young, wants to develop, which is a tool that measures your carbon dioxide use and is telling you as you travel and go how much you use and put out in the environment, and then make suggestions as to how you could reduce your impact on the environment, which I think is crazy. He's barely over 20, and I don't understand why I didn't have such ideas. But so in this way, of course, technology could possibly help us to become aware. That's why I'm mentioning it. I think, a lot of people would want to use a tool like this to improve their behavior if they had the assistance, including myself. I'm not always aware how I pollute the environment. Well, and then what else was on your list? I thought that there was a really great list in terms of challenges that we have. Migration, international collaboration and peaceful living. I think here we are really on the right track, is by interacting and understanding who we are. I'm actually German, but I've been familiar with Turkish culture for a very long time, and I love it. But I know many people don't know anything about it, and I think peace and international collaboration comes by understanding that we're all human, and we learn different things, we have different habits, but in the end, we also have the same goals. And I think collaborating and uniting is a great way to establish more peace. I think the EU project is great for that.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Great ideas. Actually, to change human behavior, it's a challenge itself. We can do this briefly in two ways. In a kind of, we may enforce that in a top-down regulation, yes, or that it's usually the case. And but what would be important is to combine it with a bottom-up approach, because we have to go down to the people, we have to embrace them, we have to stimulate them, we have to make them partners.
Yes.
As long as we will not create partnerships between us and those who are pushing the change, and people will not be able to, it will be a big conflict. And the target is to reduce conflicts, not to increase conflicts at the end.
Right.
So creating partnership and the feeling of inclusion, that is very important.
Yes, I agree. Belongingness.
I think emotion, we are still emotional driven entities. Humans are definitely like that. So we should consider that, and we should illustrate the harm that is created around us, the very bad outcome of our behavior. We have a myriad of examples, and to present a project, a model that will embrace them emotionally and will take them by the hand, and then sharing all these new aspects and values. So I think it was a very good topic.
Same for me. Thank you for
thank you, Daniela,
leading this part of this.
Teşekkürler.
Teşekkürler. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm mindful of the fact that others want to contribute, but I think we have a lot of technological opportunities for this as well, developing applications that may be tailored and provide cue to actions for certain individuals. So this might be a very applied area of focus, developing M-health interventions or behavior change interventions that are very, very attainable in these times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we have to go further with more questions, with more participants, Stefan, yes? So I think we have another colleague, Dr. Irina Vlad, that we may get access. We may give access.
Yes.
She may get access to the platform, and
she has a question on disease registries.
Yes. This is also very interesting.
Okay, should be connecting soon. We have another question on the value of eye movement research and eye tracking for economy and ecology along the way. But
right, if Irina,
yes, she's here.
Hello.
Okay. Irina is here.
Hello, I'm a third year neurology resident and a PhD student from Romania, from Cluj-Napoca. As we all know, there are significant differences in healthcare systems between various countries, mainly influenced by the availability of resources, and that also echoes on the standard of care. And we know that in low-resource countries, the basic healthcare is not optimally covered, and there is a lack of data for evidence-based medicine. That's why I think that medical registries and patient registries are of utter importance as a method of organized data gathering. So coming to my question, how could the process of data collection be simplified and made more efficient? And to continue the beginning of the discussion, could maybe the neurotech community assist in developing an algorithm based on machine learning that would also further reduce the resources that are needed for the implementation and development of these registries?
Excellent, good question and topic also. As we know, we tremendously need evidence-based. The registry is more about real-life data, and this is very important. It's even more important sometimes. And in top of it, we don't have a well-defined standard of care in this respect. So I think Stefan will elaborate more on that, and this is getting very interesting. And I think it's a very good step forward. So Stefan, what is your opinion on that?
I think this also feeds very much into the question of economy. Why? Because of, well, frankly, the pandemic has put a lot of pressure on our health systems. We had already had orphan areas, such as you mentioned TBI, right? Traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
So in these cases, what is going on? A lot of chronic patients or a lot of acute non-COVID patients are being denied care. This is, again, something that is becoming not only a public health problem, but a public health emergency. So I think historically, registries have been a lot about human resources. Having someone who is there to shadow data collection along the way in the clinical process. Now what we should do, and what I think Neurotech should do, is find ways to simplify this and have, for example, some ways of eliminating the human interaction. Because I'm not a medical doctor myself, but I can see medical doctors around me are totally overwhelmed. So maybe if we had a way of gathering all this information without putting pressure on these guys that are working on the ground with patients, that would be really, really helpful. On the other hand, it's really hard to coagulate all these things because we have heterogeneity across health systems, across decision makers. And so I think something needs to be very clearly piloted and with very good results for any country to have buy-in and deploy it at national levels. Cost is another issue here. I think if we make it open source and if it's really easy to implement and customize, if there's no, let's say, very much stress on customizing it and having engineers to fine-tune it for the health system, it would be great. So such a tool could be applied across diseases, and I think some of those exist, but people need to be encouraged, and I think this is the behavior change component of it. We have the tools. Let's build the interface to convince people to use these tools, and let's help them. With what they need.
Thank you so much for your answers. Excellent ideas.
Irina, it's exactly like that, and we don't want to suggest that you will work more and you will have more workload to transfer this data and this, but an intelligent approach with the help of neurotechnologies and with the help of some special software, maybe by the help of these tools we may create simultaneous processes. That is the problem, that we are not doing simultaneously everything what we can do. So during the moment when you are introducing data in the real day-by-day documents related to patient care, you may have an automatic transfer if you have a certain patient with a TBI, an automatic transfer to the registry or things like that that can ease the whole approach and your efforts. Our efforts as clinicians, whatever we can do, a lot. But the added value of this registries, it's fantastic. in respect to real world. Thank you, Irina.
Thank you.
So let's see what we have here. Stefan, do you see any other questions? Let me check.
I'm not seeing any more questions right now. We did have a question from Emmanuel on eye tracking, but let's see if I can invite him. He appears not to be online.
It's not with us?
Yes, it says that the attendee is not live, so maybe he will join later. I also think I saw something from Diana.
Yes, here we are. We are from Diana.
She will be connected soon.
Okay, let's wait.
Yeah. So until she gets connected, she mentions that she's a researcher focusing on health economics. She's having problems with quality of data, fragmentation of data from medical records, and we're happy to hear from her and how we may.
So many participants. We are very happy to see so many people around. Please be active, be curious. Let's see what can we do with this beautiful project. Of course, first we have to identify challenges. So is she with us?
Yes, so it says 2 colleagues are connecting.
Very well.
They've accepted and then they're currently connecting. I think because of so many people being on the platform. Yes. So our colleague Emmanuel is with us.
Hello everybody. Are you able to hear me?
We hear you well.
Okay. I'm sorry about the lack of video, but I'm currently on the road, so that's quite an issue for me now. But I was able to attend your interesting conference, and thank you, Professor Mureșanu, for your presentation. I have a suggestion. I myself, I'm a PhD researcher and a resident doctor in the field of neurology, especially pediatric neurology. But I have a great interest in eye tracking technologies. So I'm thinking maybe using eye tracking, we can develop an application for with great diagnostic and rehabilitation capabilities. As you well know, eye tracking can be used by smartphones, or both iOS and Android system use them with the front camera, and we can use this for getting real life updates on patients with TBI, post-traumatic brain injury patients, or aphasia patients, or patients with dyslexia, autism, to create interactive applications for diagnostic purposes, rehabilitation purposes. So this would be my idea on saving resources, as Professor Mureșanu stated. Maybe we could find a way to develop some easy-to-use technology to bring eye tracking closer to patients.
Eye tracking, yes, you are talking about eye tracking.
Yes, eye tracking.
Yes, I think this is a very encouraging development, a very encouraging technology at the end of the day, and this may clarify some, I would say, some particular aspects related to human behavior, as I mentioned, and it has a great applicability in neuroeconomics, but we also may understand better some other aspects related to human behavior. So, Stefan, what would be your point on that?
So I think it would be particularly important to highlight, since we're in the economy and ecology section, what the contribution of eye tracking could be and how we may use eye tracking. So eye movements, as you say, are very promising, both as biomarkers, monitoring tools from the clinical perspective, but they also have quite big value, to my knowledge, in monitoring behavior and neuroeconomics as well. So I think if we look at economies and decision making, the research that's been going on regarding how decisions are made and the fact that they're almost random in some cases, I think we may apply models of learning that might be developed within neurotech to transfer information and also try to build better frameworks for decision making in the large scale. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, I'm a fan of having a platform for this, and decision making or understanding better how we make decisions, cherry picking what is good, adapting on what is bad, and having something for policymakers, I think, would be the best bang for our buck here in this case. But of course, all the commercial benefits of eye tracking, such as neuromarketing, or even on the clinical side, if you build a very efficacious tool, you save resources. Which again, the point is not spending less, but making the best out of what resources you have and directing the savings to what is more important. So I think if you have a specific proposal on this, we do have the Neurotech graduate school, which will hopefully be funded by the Neurotech Research and Innovation Project submitted to Horizon 2020, and we will be funding such ideas, and then hopefully all our brains focus on these topics will be able to collaborate in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sounds promising.
Yes, I think collecting data, sustainable data and good data from eye tracking project, it's very important, and we may definitely demonstrate that it's a great tool to be used in the process of evaluating our patients, particularly in cognitive disorders. I think in these executive functions and other related decision-making processes of the brain, I think it's a very important tool. So thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you also.
Good. So what do we have? Go ahead.
So we had this question from Diana Grad on health economics.
Diana.
Yeah, she's invited to the stage, but she's not been able to connect thus far. Maybe we can bridge a bit the discussion and talk about how
health economics.
Sorry?
Please bridge it, because it's very close to your.
No, I wanted to ask you something professionally as an individual, Professor Mureșanu, because you have a lot of experience with community building, both in your department and in the not-for-profit field. What is the future of neurotech on the long run? Because we've been hearing the European head of higher education saying that we might have a legal status of our own, but it's not quite sure. If we deliver in this first phase, they are certainly willing to fund us in the future. But do you see neurotech potentially functioning as a not-for-profit in the future if the European Union, for example, is not able to find this common framework and map out all the legal requirements in all the countries to function as an independent legal entity? Is not-for-profit for neurotech?
I think there is a good chance in building up this. Could be, but I'm still optimistic on the aspects related to finance, and I believe that if we'll be able definitely to create a good frame and good results and to measure some good outputs out of this project, I think the funding will come as a natural development. But on the other hand, we may have some important modules of the project developed as not-for-profit in some respects. I believe that at the end of the day, a good combination may be successful in this respect. So I think all avenues are open. But what is most important is that we'll be able to create a high level of awareness around academic communities, because academic communities are at the crossroad of human development. I mean, here we have education, but in the same time, we are able to feed new economic developments based on research. We are able to discover these beautiful aspects inspired, that brain inspires us regarding how we may work, how may we take decision, what is the best way, how can we control the emotional part. I think if we'll be able to generate a consistent frame of arguments, then neurotech will be winning on the next decade, I think. So I think working classically or working with our passion at the end, based on some not-for-profit in the sense that we'll get money and will infuse this into the development. So am I right in what I'm saying? What do you think?
Yes, I think we have exciting, let's say, if we were to look at the future, as Bob Harris mentioned, it is not an exact science, but we have very good signs of industry stakeholders that are contributing to pioneering this vision. I think in terms of our initial effort, we have to go way beyond what we are, let's say, formally engaged to with our contract with the European Commission. We should all individually in our universities and us as human beings try to push forward to get to know each other better. And I hope to be able to do this despite these hard times of exclusively virtual communication. But I think if we do things right, we do have a chance to elevate the next step in the progression of the history of university, as Tansu mentioned it. It would be nice to achieve this.
I think if we'll reflect on something which is a little bit emotional, when I was very young, I loved John Lennon, and I remember also now, imagine all the people living their life in peace and collaborating. Yeah, this is a very interesting. So if we create this very complex community between, practitioner, researchers, all stakeholders in education, and then research education on the side of industry, creating new products, creating new imagination, and at the end of the day, creating a new human interaction, a better mood in this respect. Finally, we have
Hello.
Okay.
So I'm Diana, I'm a researcher and also a student, and the problem I encountered a lot doing research or even schoolwork was the lack of information, especially on this topic of healthcare economics in Romania or generally in lower income countries. How do you think we could increase this access to information and the resources that we maybe need to have more research done on the subject?
Right. Stefan, what do you think?
Thank you. So again, we are circling back to what is the big issue of information gaps across countries. And I think apart from what we've already mentioned, and I don't want to do major repetitions on this, but I think there are creative tools, as I think Emmanuel or Irina mentioned, using machine learning. But the key here is, I think, in two directions. One, eliminating the need for human interaction. We need to rebuild our health information systems from the ground up, so that the information that we need for registries, for economic analysis, for any type of analysis, let's say assessment of the health impact of eliminating diesel engines in Europe, for example. Yeah, to get the data for that, you would need to do, at the moment in some countries, a near archaeological activity to pull and twist and reconstruct data from several pieces. I think if we rebuild from the ground up our health information systems, and it takes a lot of courage to do this, and probably it will imply simultaneous collection through current and new systems in the future, I think we might be able to automatically obtain what we need. This is one thing. The other thing is buy-in from policymakers. And here I think we need, again, a hybrid approach, as was mentioned before, but we need also to understand the psychology of policymakers, decision makers, their proneness to loss aversion, their proneness to, let's say, have or take irrational decisions in some cases. So it's pretty complex, but if any field at all, neuroscience will have answers for this, and the technological component of our project will bridge this. I mean, not to make this too long, but the best example is with our communication platform. So what we're doing right now for Neurotech, we're not reinventing the wheel in terms of building a new platform. We have storage, and then we will build something based on what is open source provided by the Apereo Foundation. So if universities can do this and trust their academic endeavor and their academic operation on systems that are already open source and are already proven, I think this is scalable at system level, for example, health system level, or health, or even for ministries of finance and so on. I guess it will take a lot of courage, and I think it will take targeted pilot projects.
Excellent, Stefan. I think you are totally right. What I would add only into this picture, and what I believe it will be a good way to solve, I would say, discrepancies between us and the others. I think a better and wise approach regarding health technologies assessment will bring us closer to a better, I would say, economical situation regarding the healthcare system. So HTA might have a good impact in the future. And I know you are an eminent specialist in this area.
So yes, HTA, health technology assessment, is of course something that is wanted at the European level, but it's really hard to achieve because our health systems are diverse, and how we make these decisions are diverse. So health technology assessment is basically an instrument for informing people that make decisions in terms of the economic impact of healthcare. If we're talking about a new innovative drug making its way on the market, it's health technology assessment, which tells policymakers, is this cost effective? Is this safe? Is this okay to introduce on the market? What we're seeing now is the expansion of health technology assessment from individual, let's say, interventions such as drugs to other items like public health programs or screening programs or immunization programs. For the COVID-19 vaccine, for example, it's a big challenge for EMA, FDA, and all the authorities, because now you need comparative effectiveness studies between vaccines, which wasn't done before in the past, because you would rarely have a vaccine being developed, or hundreds of vaccines being developed for the same problem at the same time. So I think HTA is a good case study for the challenges that we will face when we want to promote, identify and use neurotech tools to solve neuro challenges in economy and ecology. Why? Because what we've seen at European level is that countries such as Germany and France disagree. It's in a way easier now that the UK has exited, because also UK has a separate institute handling this, the National Institute for Care Excellence, and they all have their separate models. The common framework for health technology assessment was pushed forward and was approved by 2 of the 3 major institutions at European level, but I think it was the European Council that blocked it. And I remember colleagues from Germany saying that we're fine with having same system of decision making for Europe as long as it's the German one. So these will be some challenges along the way, but I think with courage and with pilot programs, we might see the end of the day. Again, using even the pandemic as a platform for this. Health is a good is a good platform, is a good vehicle for progress, because health is close to people's hearts. Everyone has the expectation of living near perfect health. So this is also good for people getting elected, messages related to health policies. So maybe we'll have a chance in this respect. It's all related to what you presented, Professor Mureșanu, about scarcity and our need to prioritize. So we're very much encouraging your ideas based on what was discussed. Say, what do you think works, what doesn't work? Thank you, and sorry for being a bit too long on this.
No, it was necessary. It was necessary. And thank you, Diana, for expressing these concerns and for putting them on the table.
Thank you.
Okay. What else do we have? We still have.
Yes, we do have.
Sorry,
have Diana. Yeah,
I had some technical difficulties because of the internet is terrible. So going back to my question, I think that Stefan said at one point that when it comes also to registry, we should first focus on human resources, as well as having the right infrastructure to centralize the information from multiple sources and make it accessible for stakeholders to plan better when it comes to financing and to the delivery of the health services across the country.
So what's your opinion based on what we've heard? Because it's the whole discussion has gravitated a lot on healthcare economics, but
I think we can take some elements from all the questions and the answers. And as you said, since there are a lot of alternatives, open source alternatives, we can try to do something based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And also we must attract the workforce from the private sphere to the public sphere. And yeah, that's it. Hold on.
In terms of the tools that researchers have in your field to produce evidence, do you feel that things are accessible, and if
No.
so, they're easy to understand? What's your wish for Neurotech in this respect? How may we bridge to help you better do your work and potentially help us globally to put a piece in the puzzle of change in economy and ecology?
Maybe we should first do a roundtable with all the stakeholders involved, and second, we should standardize the tools in order to have better data when it comes to quality. And also, we must not forget that there are some tools, so to say, from related to health economics, for example, cost effectiveness studies, cost of illness studies, and we can base all of that on real world data provided by the centralization of information from all the three sources that I've mentioned in that question.
Thank you. So this I will convey in our work meetings, and I think it's a good idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. I think there are relevant aspects that can be managed within the frame of NeurotechEU. So that's why it's so important to discuss and to bring up your expectations and your ideas. That's the fact. So,
I think we have time for one more contribution. We're waiting for our colleague if she may intervene. In the interim, Professor Mureșanu, what do you think? Since our colleague is here, and I will have the floor very very soon. But I guess my desire for this end of discussion, seeing as though we have a lot of topics, we have a lot of focuses, people are going towards their own areas of interest. I think question for us as a community is how may we probe the needs, the preferences, and take this Neurochallenges endeavor, identifying them. How may we do it in the future in each university? And I think your experience as communication committee chair of the European Academy of Neurology will maybe give us some insights. How may we engage with our community? This was my question to you, but we may switch to our colleague.
Okay. Hello, I'm a neurologist from Cluj. You spoke a little about neuroeconomics. I would like to ask if you think that this new field can improve the main issues, financial issues of healthcare systems, and in which way?
Yes. A good point. Also, I can see that we are really very much concerned about the bridges between the economy and healthcare system, and that is very important, not only in the sense that the current status of an economy will generate particular chances for a good health, because we know that there is a stratification. But as I mentioned, it's very important to use wisely all the resources. Good. Stefan, what do you think about that? And then let's elaborate together.
So I think there are a lot of ideas here. I think we should survey the preference of both types of specialists involved in neuroeconomics. So to my understanding, and my understanding is very limited on this topic, neuroeconomics is an intersection field, a new one, an emerging one, but it involves psychology, it involves clinical medicine, but also economists, obviously. And so what the evidence neuroscientists are producing is very valuable to understand decision making. Of course, this has been previously discussed as a potential tool to improve policies and to improve our lives as society as a whole. But I guess an idea would be to have it the other way around, to see what problems economists face, to have them set the priorities. And I'm sure people involved in these experiments, neuroeconomic experiments, which are basically having some sort of behavior monitored by neuroimaging or otherwise, and seeing what is happening in the brain. I'm sure these individuals may adapt to these needs. So rather than exploring generally from the bottom up everything that is going on and moving then to, let's say, always looking where I might apply this, we might go to economists. And again, I think as was very eloquently put, economy and ecology are interwoven fields, and they both spill into public health issues that might serve as a vehicle, I think we need to put together people in the same room. We need to stop having experiments that are isolated and try to build along the way a roadmap of what our objectives are with said research. And I think many neurotech partners do have the tools for this. I've been having some discussions internally in our work package for widening access with Professor Carla Miller from Oxford. We discussed widening access, but she is in fact very much involved with functional MRI. So someone from there with economists from another university, or together, if we build a research group on this, I think we can have great results from the get-go, not necessarily spending decades to achieve something. This is just my opinion.
This is a great message, Stefan. I think it's absolutely valid, nice, and I will come from a different angle, just mentioning that we have to switch, but we have to find a balance. So our, I would say, clinical decision-making algorithm is based on clinical aspects and evidence-based, let's say. But in the same time, currently we have to bring more and more aspects related to cost effectiveness. So I believe that balancing between pure clinical aspects and evidence-based data and cost effectiveness interventions, I think it's a very important aspect. So we have to find the balance in a decision, and we have to create a good background for those who are taking decisions, to have a better capacity to inform them well about how to do things. So I believe that also this project may change a little bit also the philosophy, for example, of something that we are using day by day as guidelines, for example. We have to find the perfect matching between the components related to clinical practice and components related to cost effectiveness, and to find a common ground. So we have to change the deep nature of the concept of guideline in the future, and to adapt into this in this frame to embrace here on this territory both important related aspects, and pharmacoeconomics are somewhere in between. Yes, playing a very important role in the future in this respect. So I think this, from my perspective, that would be a good alternative for what we are creating now. This is a good possibility for neurotech to stimulate. Thank you very much, Olivia.
Thank you.
Great discussion.
So we have 5 to 6 minutes left. Before leaving you, Professor, and thanking you first, but before leaving you to wrap up this discussion and moving, maybe having a short breather before the roundtable, I would just like to say that so I know you've been discussing internally in our university, but this needs to happen at European universities level, to have this communication between research groups. This needs identification of research groups with common interest, and then trying to build them along the translational path. And thank you for doing that. And we hope to be in widening access. We hope to be able to facilitate that communication as much as possible, because researchers from Eastern Europe also have problems of access to funding for several reasons. So communication between our groups is surely the success to provide better outputs, but to lift us from the current paradigm. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I think you have pointed out marvelously. And what I would like to say at the end of this very stimulating discussion is that the conclusion is that it's high time to jump out of each one box. So we have to go out, clinicians should go out of this, I would say, very perimetral thinking, and to understand better the surroundings. And also we need to bring closer the economists. We need to have together a look into the our ecosystem, into our ecology of life. So I believe that by doing this in a teamwork and just by emotional drive, curiosity, and trying to prevent the clash that can be just around the corner in all respects. I mean, economical, all aspects that are related to our political behavior maybe in the future. All these aspects should be scrutinized, should be analyzed, should be listed. And at the end of the day, we have to have a list of priorities of what we have to do in order to create a better environment. Environment in the sense, basically a better ecology. Because ecology and economy should live together. And you have seen, but this is not a surprise. This does not come as a surprise that our main focus of discussion today was very much related to healthcare, because we live in this environment. So this is also a signal that we need multidisciplinary approach. We need to be more diverse, more colorful in the sense of our background, and we have to share better. I think that the message is that we need to share. We need to share more, and we need to define everything what might be preventing us from having a better, rational, normal approach in relation with economical system and with our environment, of course. So I think that would be the strong message and take-home message. Identifying neurochallenges. There is a huge room to interfere with these challenges. Once we define this, we just have to have a look into the developments and to create a bridge. Bridging continuously and creating an import of tools into this area from neurotechnologies. I think this is an important challenge. Yes, with the advance of technologies, we may have also an advance of our behavior in the sense that I have mentioned in my presentation. So I think we are right on time. We still have 1 more minute.
Yes, we'll be rerouted. Yes.
I would like to thanks a lot everybody who was able to join us, and I would like to thank you for the very knowledgeable and wise approach. And at the end of the day, we may call it a very good meeting. And we'll be very curious to see and share, as I mentioned. We need to share again with the other panels what do they developed, and let's see in the roundtable that is coming what are our common intersections for the future development. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stefan. And I can see there are no other questions or eager comments.
We will be rerouted shortly. Best wishes for the holiday season to all.
Yes, I think it's a nice moment to reflect and relax.